You know what really makes us mad? Is wasting money on CDs with only one or two good songs.
Yeah. Tell them about punk.
What's up, posers? Welcome to punklottopod. I'm your co-host, Justin Hensley.
I'm your other co-host, Dylan Hensley.
And this is the show where we assign our guests a year and they choose one punk, hardcore, emo, or punk-adjacent album from that year for us to talk about. Today we are speaking with John Sharkey III. You may know him from his solo music, the band Dark Blue, or the band Clockcleaner. All bands that we massively love and respect.
Puerto Rico Flowers.
Oh yes, I can't believe I forgot that one. Yeah, this is a really cool one. This was one in the making for a couple weeks now, doing some scheduling back and forth. You know, he canceled, then we canceled, and here we are. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about the year 1987 and Poison Idea's second LP, War All the Time.
Yeah, didn't know much about Poison Idea before this episode.
Yeah, I only had vague facts about them. Mm-hmm. Knew the album, you know, the Feel the Darkness album cover, and, you know, some of the other stuff. But a band with a legacy that I still don't think is fully understood.
Yeah.
Which we get into on the episode, but
yeah. And if you'd like to hear more talk about 1987, head over to our Patreon. That is patreon.com/punklottopod, where this week we are talking about the 1987 film Dudes. The Penelope Spheris film, which I believe neither of us have watched yet. No, but I got time tomorrow. Yeah, Dudes, starring John Cryer and Daniel Roebuck.
Oh, weird. Really? John Cryer did that?
You didn't realize it was him?
No.
Yeah, it's John Cryer. This is right after Pretty in Pink. This is the year after Pretty in Pink.
It is. We keep connecting dots with all of our punk movies.
Yeah.
We're connecting. People made those movies.
Yeah, with Penelope Spheris too. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, there's Daniel Roebuck from Lost. He's the guy who gets blown up with a stick of dynamite. Art, that was his name.
Yeah.
A few other people. Flea, Leaving. Some other punks in there.
I mean, the ones that you expect to see. But,
the ones with acting credits. And someone named Billy Ray Sharkey. Any relation?
Hilarious. It's going to turn out to be his cousin.
Yeah, uncle. So that's a Master Punk Theater for you over on the Patreon. We've talked about watching that FX show Pistol. Is that what it's called?
I thought it was just called Sex Pistols. It's the Sex Pistols FX show.
Yeah.
What else is it called?
By what's his name? Well, the book's called Loaded because it's based off Steve Jones's book.
Yeah.
And I think they were like, Loaded's too generic. Let's call it Pistols. So people know.
And then people will think, like, is it a Velvet Underground? Is it?
Yeah, right.
What is it?
Loaded with Hits? Is it a Metallica?
Which one is that?
Load and Reload? Yeah. So we thought about watching that. We might still do that because it is a show, so it'll be up for a few weeks. So we might watch it.
It is just called Pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I think we can check that one out at a later point.
Yeah. We figured that we should probably do something that is like, wow, mainstream punk thing? Okay.
Yeah. There's a punk record or a punk movie that came out in the year of the record that we're talking about. We should definitely do that. We should take advantage of that.
Right. Whenever
that happens. So, and it's free on YouTube. So I don't have to buy it.
Well, we got Hulu. We could watch that Pistol show. But, also, we are running a contest currently on the Patreon. If you sign up for the $1 tier, you are entered automatically into a drawing for the $10 tier. And when that means you get to choose the album that we talk about on an episode of this show. So anyone who signs up this month, the month of June, you're entered in. Anyone who's already signed up and is a member, you are automatically enrolled in it. And we'll pick someone out of those people, and they'll get to choose what record we talk about. And again, that's patreon.com/punklottopod. And of course, all the other social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at punklottopod, punklottopod@gmail.com, a voicemail line 202-688-PUNK, and a Substack, punklottopod.substack.com. I think that's everything. Anything you want to plug?
Nothing currently.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, enjoy this conversation with John Sharkey. We had a good time talking with him, so it's exciting to get to talk to somebody that we've enjoyed their music for a long time. So enjoy.
Skies of stale gray. I found everyone this way. Not holding to anyone, and I'm not kissing any of you when I say I found everyone this way. I found all your nothing fears, your nothing faces, and nothing tears. But I found everyone this way. I found everyone at play in a field of gold on a perfect day. But I found everyone this way. Not holding you close and near, not listening to anyone sincere. I found everyone this way. I found everyone of you unbearable, and each every single way. Nothing faces and nothing tears, and I found everyone this way. The goddess of time, they say everything I need, and it's right to my face. I found everyone this way. I found everyone. I'll probably make up with you and stay.
We are joined here today with John Sharkey III. Do you use the third a lot?
Not so much in Australia. It really stymies people. They're not used to it. I mean, to me, when I was a kid, I didn't grow up in like an affluent family. People think that because I use that suffix, I'm like royalty. I am, but not any official capacity. But yeah, down here, like, what, mate? Huh? What's the 3 after your name? And I've gotten so tired of explaining it to people that I just kind of nix it, and all my driver's license doesn't say it. But when I have to fly anywhere, oh my God, it's like the sky is falling.
You're missing your 3.
Yeah, they cannot believe that I would have to add this. Like, what? Like, they look at my passport and their eyes start to float, in their head. It's not fun, but whatever. Yeah. So I use it in situations like this.
Yeah.
It's
a good.
When I'm talking to Americans, yeah, it works. It's John Sharkey's boring. The last name Sharkey is boring. Right. So
it needs to come with some aristocracy, attached to it.
I needed to add something to the name Sharkey. Yeah, sure. All right. No. Yes.
Well,
but go ahead.
This is a first for our show. This is our first intercontinental episode. I guess is the best way to describe it. We've had Canadian guests on, but this is our first time talking with someone in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm...
Canada's easy. They have the same time zones as us.
Yeah. Yeah. My drummer, Mike Sneer, well, not my drummer, I don't own him. The drummer for Dark Blue, dear friend of mine, refers to Canada as America's hat a lot. So just wanted to throw that shout out to Sneeringer. Yeah, it's, first for everything. I'm glad to be the maiden voyage down under.
Yeah. I've seriously considered it in the past, too, because there are, like, plenty of great Australian bands, too.
Yeah.
I've just never been like, all right, it's hard enough, like, organizing when Dylan is on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast, so.
Well, I mean, I'm only 14 hours into the future for you. It should be fine.
Right.
It should be easy to calculate that one in your head.
Right. Anything we need to watch out for tomorrow?
Yeah, it's cold here, but it's, I don't know if it's going to be cold there. It's daytime here. What time is it there? Is it night there? No, I love that.
Yeah.
Like a conversation with my mother. Hey, what time is it there? Mom, I lived here for like over a decade off and on. Like, what are you talking? You know this answer. You also have a smartphone. Just Google it. Stop talking to me. Yeah. So let's.
That was one of the first things I was going to bring up is so your primary, I guess, musical audience is probably based in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since you've been going off and on to Australia and back to the States, like how hard is that to kind of balance, the different scenes? It's like you disappear almost.
It's true.
Part of the audience.
Well, it leaves the mystery for when I'm gone a little bit in the United States, and then I come back. It always seems to be I come back and start a new band, but I don't think I'm going to do that next time I go back.
Yeah.
Like I broke up Clockcleaner, moved to Australia. We did a tour down here. Clockcleaner did a tour down here. It was fine. It was fun. And then I moved back, and we did Puerto Rico Flowers. And I moved back to Australia, and then I came back to the States and started Dark Blue. It's almost like a place I come to recharge. But I've never really spent. I mean, I've been here for four years at this point, so I haven't really spent this long a time down here. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's hard to balance both bands. I couldn't have picked a worse continent to marry one of its citizens. Honestly, I could have. But whatever, the heart does funny things. But yeah, it is a pain in the ass, especially with all my family and friends back on the East Coast of the United States. And we've been trapped down here. You couldn't even leave Australia for almost 2 years during the pandemic. So I'm finally breaking free in about 3 weeks, where I'm going to be back in the United States for a brief stay, but still something.
More of a visit than a stay.
I can't move home, but they won't let me. But
you're Australia's problem now.
I mean, that's kind of the case. I'm a month away from citizenship too, so watch out, Australia.
Wow. I mean, I don't know. I think leaving the U.S. now is probably a good idea. I wish I could.
Yeah, I'm not upset that I don't live in a country, and I have 2 children that are grade school age. I'm not upset that I am, leading them to slaughter basically by living in the United States. Wasn't there another mass shooting this morning in Tulsa?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Just saw that this afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous. So fuck that. Yeah. America is it's a shit show. So I'm not really upset. It's not great. Didn't work. They didn't make it better. Yeah, it didn't get any better. So I probably will.
We didn't.
Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to bum you out. I could tell you're I could tell you're big Trump voters. So from listening to the show.
Yeah, it actually infuriates me. I pass Trump flags on my road weekly, and it's like I have never seen the guy who lost have this much support this far past the election. It's just like, oh, he's going to run again, and he's probably going to win again.
Yeah, it's crazy. You see fools down here with Trump stickers on their trucks. I mean, they're true rednecks. Like, Cro-Magnon guys driving around in a little ute. They call it the trucks utes. G'day, mate, in me ute. So, yeah, but it's really the far-reaching hatred for anything smart. It really doesn't stop in America. Like I'm telling you, I see it a lot down here. Trump stickers. One of my daughter's friend's father is a huge Trump supporter, so that's really fucking awkward. We talk and I have to go over for like a play date or something. Yeah. But yeah, so you're not alone.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but it's let's get off this horrible subject.
Exactly. Humanity is a cesspool. Let's just leave it at that.
Right. Well, so since you left the United States, though, you did actually release a new record. Mm-hmm. It was a solo album titled Shoot Out the Cameras. It was released last year, 2021, and it's a fantastic record. Loved it. One of my favorites of the year.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a... go ahead, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, it was a strange record to record because it was... The story behind it was during the start of the pandemic, the Australian government was giving out grants to people who were musicians, and it didn't really matter if you were not a citizen. So I applied for one, and I was told I was not going to get it every step of the way. I filled out the grant forms, wrote an essay, did all this, and I applied for $10,000 because that was the threshold. Mm-hmm. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for whatever. I'm not going to, what am I going to ask for? Exact change here? No. So, and 2 months goes by, and then I get a phone call, and I got the grant. So, and I've been kind of writing songs off and on, because before the pandemic, Australia had to deal with what they call now Black Summer, which was the summer of 2019 going into 2020. The entire east coast of Australia, almost, in bits and parts, caught on fire. So there's massive bushfires. So every day I would wake up in Canberra, because we don't live very close to the coast. It's about 3 hours away. But the smoke would come in every night around 9 o'clock, and you'd wake up, and the city was just engulfed in smoke. You couldn't leave your house. Everyone was making makeshift air filters because, all the hardware stores were selling. It was a nightmare. And then come December, Canberra catches on fire. Yeah. So, you couldn't escape it. So we had to kind of drive up to Queensland for a few weeks, and it was really jarring to kind of feel that sense of complete helplessness. There really was no escape for a while. I remember during the original, kind of smoky days, we tried to drive to the mountains. Nope, those things caught on fire too. Boulders were catching on fire. You'd walk, if you go there now, you see boulders that are cracked and black because fire just tore through it. And Dark Blue's last show was supposed to be in Los Angeles a couple Februarys ago. But the day before I was flying to LA, the mountain range behind my house, like 15K behind my house, caught on fire. Because the Australian Defence Force lit a fire in the forest. Didn't tell anyone for 45 minutes, and then let it get completely out of control. Because that's protocol. Shocking. But, shocking, I know. and the government screwing something up. But yeah, so the entire mountain range behind my house caught on fire, and it was like a tsunami of flames coming towards my house. So I couldn't exactly be like, peace, wife and kids, I'm gonna go play a show at whatever, the Zebulon or
we got a gig. I can't miss it.
Yeah, I can't miss this gig that like maybe 200 people are gonna be at. It's gonna be life changing. I'll come home with $70 US. So no,
because I spent it all coming back.
Yeah, I know, because the ticket was $6,000. It's not that expensive, but yeah. So a lot of the experiences of that horrible summer kind of were siphoned into that record. So it was after I got that grant, I wrote that thing in about 4 weeks. I'd only had a couple ideas before. I didn't really think about it too much because everyone was telling me, "You're not going to get this. You're not going to get this. You're not getting this grant." So as soon as I got it, I mean, I kind of wrote the record in 4 weeks, and then we recorded it in 2.5 days.
Wow.
So, we just went hard. I did all the vocals for it in 3 hours.
Shit.
In a row. Yeah, I didn't want it to sound super perfect, or, I wanted it to be a little shaky and natural. So, I just did all the vocals in order of the record. 3 takes of each song, just banged about, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a very quick process. So,
that style really kind of works, though, for the type of record it is, because it's like I'd say it's a mostly acoustic record. There's some electric stuff in there, too, but, like, that more natural sounding, performance combined with, a mostly acoustic record, like, it works really well, so...
Yeah, thank you. I even tried to do it where I played the guitar and sang, but there was just too much bleed in the studio, and I'm also not that good at that, so it kind of sucked those takes. So we kind of scrapped that idea. But yeah, it did work well. Thank you.
You have a pretty big discography at this point. Prior to the solo record, of course, is Dark Blue, and Dylan and I are also big fans of that, which we had your Dark Blue bandmate Andy Nelson on our show last year.
Yep, Andy was the one who hipped me to your show.
Yeah.
After Victory is Rated came out, he sent it to me. He's like, check this out. They think that Walsh did all the guitars. He did some guitars, but
yeah.
I'm gonna clear up that long-standing rumor. The one that everyone's talking about still. No. But yeah.
Yeah, that's classic Gus, just like talking out of our ass and then being like, "Oh, we got something wrong? Oh shit. Okay."
It's all right. I mean, it doesn't say that I play guitar on that record. You were right to think that it's just like, and it does sound different. So, good on you.
We can't find where it says for sure, so we're just gonna say what we think. And
yeah.
That'll be the fact that we print.
So the reason why we do that now is because one time we did say it sounds like there's 2 people on like doing vocals on a record.
Oh yeah.
And then we got yelled at by the members of the band, being like, "These idiots think that." Okay, it's
wow.
It's
what band was it? Can you tell me what band it was? Was it really?
It was SSD.
No, Alvarell got mad. Wow, Alvarell losing his temper. That's shocking. I don't see that.
First, it was his. It was his wife.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was going to surmise
she started
that.
It. And then I guess she found it and then like sent it to him, and then he listened to another episode like a year later just to trash us.
Wow.
We didn't even talk about SSD on that episode. It was just we were talking like an Orchid record. Like.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, yeah, I don't really know Nancy or Al. But judging by their Facebook presence, this does not shock me at all.
Yeah.
Just gonna say, it's definitely like watching my distant relatives fighting over election results on Facebook or greeting us. So, yeah, it's not shocking at all. Well, I'm not going to. Don't worry, I'm not here to lambaste any of you for getting the stupidest of details wrong.
Yeah.
When Justin said that he was booking, I was like, oh shit, what did we say? Like you start anytime we've had anyone on the show that we've talked about in the past, I'm like, should I go re-listen to that episode? Is there something that I need to apologize for?
No, it was very praise filled. So I thank you for that.
I think that was a best of episode too, like most of the year episode too. So it'd been weird if we were being negative on that one.
Yeah.
When we were talking earlier on, through DMs, you mentioned that you might have some Dark Blue news to talk about.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of news. I guess I can say it now. It isn't announced yet, but it's going to happen because it's already booked. Dark Blue will be playing. I mean, I already have plane tickets. I'm definitely fucking going. Dark Blue have a gig announced. Or not announced yet, but we have a gig booked in Brooklyn on July 7th. It's going to be Dark Blue. I forget the name of one of the other bands we're playing with, but we're also playing with Jim from Dark Thoughts, his other band, Delco MFers, or MFs. I don't know what that stands for, but I'll have to ask him when I see him. But yeah, July 7th.
I didn't. He's got a new band. That's interesting.
It's not like a new band. I think it's just a side project.
Gotcha.
Because I believe he grew up kind of close to where I grew up. So he grew up in Delaware County, which is lovingly known as Delco. It's a massive shithole, but we kind of defend it. It's a very American thing, defending the shithole that you grew up in. But yeah,
but it's my shithole.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You can't talk about my shithole, only I can.
Yeah.
Now here's a photo of a convenience store on a record. It's very very endearing to me.
Well, that's exciting though. It's been 2019 was the last time there was a Dark Blue show. So yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, it should be cool. I mean, it'll probably happen more in the future. Because we're a real oi band, so we're never going to break up. We're just going to be one of those bands that Last Resort puts out a new record every 15 years. So I think I've graduated to that point in my career where I can do that. No, but I don't foresee myself living down here very much. I mean, I can't say that. Long term, there will probably be a time when I live a little bit closer and this happens more, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So buy your tickets, kids. Yeah. Yeah.
Limited engagement.
Yes, limited engagement. One show only. I don't have time for anything else. I'm only there for a brief time, so people are asking me to do asking us to do other things, and I just don't. I honestly do not have the time to do it. So we have one show in Brooklyn, July 7th at TVI. Be there or don't be there. I don't care. It's fine. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Let's see. Since we have a kind of a time limit today, let's go ahead and get into the rest of the show.
Sure.
So, the premise of the show is we assign our guests a year, and they choose one punk, hardcore, emo, or punk-adjacent album from that year for us to talk about. And before we get into the one that you selected, I gave you the year 1987. And what are some other albums that came out that year that you were either considering talking about or were just important to you in general?
Well, the first one I looked at doing was probably Napalm Death's Scum. Now, that record, it's not even my favorite Napalm Death record, but it was kind of an important record when I was in my teens because it definitely bridged the gap between punk and metal very well. I didn't understand it. Why so many metal or punks were into Napalm Death when I was 14 or 15. But I remember I had a friend, I still have him, he's one of my great friends, my friend Brett, who's the cousin of Nicky Long from Kill the Man Who Questions, the singer of that band. So we all grew up in punk together, and he was just light years ahead of us. I don't know how he did it. He just knew everything. So I remember one day I was 15, we were sitting in my room, we had the Havoc Records catalog. Now, back in those days, he didn't just sell his own records. He sold bullet belts and a ton of other weird stuff. But he also sold, there was a library of cassettes that you could buy, and it was you could get 3 for $5 or something. It was really dirt cheap. So me and Brett decided we got the Crude SS tape, Mob 47, Shit Lickers, just because we liked the name, and the description was really good. I got the Crass demo, and Amoebix live tape, and we got the Napalm Death Hatred Surge demo, which the Hatred Surge demo is before they really became what they were. It's kind of like Killing Joke or Joy Division-y. It's not that great, but after that on the tape, he added the earache sessions from around that era, and I was like, holy shit, this is what is up. So Yeah, so Napalm Death, that would have been a cool record to talk about.
Yeah.
Big Black, Songs About Fucking. That's a good record.
Right.
Not my favorite Big Black record, though, so I probably would... That would be the end of the conversation. This record's good. I like this one song. It's not as good as Atomizer, or Atomized, so
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like, so, yeah, I don't know. And everything else What's up?
I was going to say about that Big Black record. Is that a record that has its place in, like, punk culture, just based on the title and cover?
And the cover, I think it didn't hurt that record's legacy.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fact that they broke up before it came out, you know?
Oh, so, yeah, true.
Okay, yeah.
So it was one of those, it was kind of, the mythology went along with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they broke up at the height of their powers. So the last thing that they put out, of course, is going to be the biggest. But I still don't think it's their best record. So yeah, that would have been basically the conversation.
Yeah, right. I always forget, too, that that's Jeff from Naked Ray Guns in that band, Santiago's on that. Yeah, it's just like, wow, yeah, that's right. Because to me, Naked Ray Guns sounds so different from Big Black that I just never even think to put them together. Meanwhile, it sounds like all the other Albini stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, that was his first baby, so it makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess we can focus on the one that we've come to talk about, huh?
Yeah. So, 1987.
Yeah.
I gave you
weird year. Man. A weird year, but
it is.
It's kind of the wilderness for punk, honestly.
There's this. We've talked about it on the show before, but there's this valley between it probably starts in 87, and between 87 and then before 92, 91.
Yeah.
Punk doesn't really have a clear identity. There's too many. Everybody who was in a band stopped doing that band and started other ones that are so different too. Almost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone either went crossover metal or college rock. You know, that's
There's a lot of goth.
There's a lot of goth. Yeah, not to be reductive, but that did happen. People matured out of the youthful energy of punk rock and hardcore. Right. So, but
even goth in this time period turns into dance music.
Yeah, that's true. Or
pretty quickly.
And you look at what the Sisters of Mercy were doing towards the end of the 80s and early 90s. It sounds almost like metal. You know, it's really, it was I'm not going to say, I don't want to say awful time for punk, but it kind of was an awful time for punk in general. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it was just there's good music for sure during that time period, but you're not going to find the best music in punk during that time period. Yeah.
I can go get beat up at the crossover metal shows, or I can go get beat up at the youth crew shows.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing.
Which one do I pick?
Exactly. Yeah. So pick your poison. But yeah, I think the record that we've come to talk about today straddles a lot of those worlds and is importantly overlooked.
Yeah, so that album is War All the Time by Poison Idea.
Yeah.
So, Poison Idea formed in Portland, Oregon in 1980. This is the band's second full-length album. It was released on Alchemy Records. And the personnel on this album is Jerry A. on vocals, Tom Pig Champion on guitar, Eric Vegetable Olsen on guitar, Chris Tentz on bass, and Steve the Slayer Hippie Hanford on drums.
R.I.P.
Yeah, it's a couple RIPs in there, actually.
A few in there.
Champion.
I mean, I can't leave them all out, but
Right.
I think I believe he's the most recent.
Yeah, like 2020.
Yeah,
I
sadly.
believe.
I think it was not too long ago.
Very quick. Yeah. And then one of, not the members on this record, but I think another member also passed away in 2021. I'm blanking on which one it was. But
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
I was like trying to keep my head in the sand about deaths during that time, so I'm not really gonna be great at recalling that kind of stuff.
So yeah, the second full-length album. First thing I usually always ask is, what made you select this album for us to talk about?
Well, I love Poison Idea. They're probably my favorite American punk band overall. And I feel like this record is completely, it's just almost completely overlooked in their catalog. Maybe as of recently it's getting a little bit more steam, but everyone always goes to Kings of Punk or Feel the Darkness. And it makes sense, because Feel the Darkness is probably top 5 hardcore punk records of all time, in my opinion. So it makes sense. So it has a really strange place in its own history. It's kind of overshadowed by its older brother and its very successful younger brother, So yeah, I feel like it just needs its due,
It's a little even overshadowed by some of the EPs that they did too.
Yeah.
Because like the names of those EPs, like Pick Your King and Record Collectors Are Pretentious Assholes.
Mm-hmm. Even the one that came out just after it. I mean, their famous Ian MacKaye EP.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all know the story. Do you guys know the story behind that one?
Actually, don't.
I read that one.
Well, that one, the cover of it is just a gaping asshole. And they were taking photos of it for the record cover, and they're just like, all right, we took a photo of their friends like literally spread cheeks, balls and all. And then they were just kind of bouncing names around. And I think Pig Champion's like, let's just call it Ian MacKaye. Done. That's it. Kind of as a goof, but it apparently really upset Ian MacKaye. Really made him. I mean,
it did, but he didn't want to say that it did.
Yeah, he definitely.
But like he also wanted to say that it did.
Yeah.
Like he had something to say about it, but he was like, I don't take it personally.
Yeah, except I'm going to take it personally. Yes, you do. You're totally addressing this. It's in Ian's kind of uptight way. He was, you could tell he was a little butthurt about it. But I mean, really, it's such a piss take of a record title. But you get two different stories. Jerry A is like, yeah, we're just having a laugh. We weren't trying to hurt his feelings. And then you read Pig Champion and be like, fuck that guy. I hate him. Yes, he's an asshole. So he has the right to be a little confused, but I still think it's brilliant. I love the way that they did it. And it's, it's kind of it's a class distinction, Ian, the DC scene and everything that was spurred from that scene is, it's pretty upper middle class, and Poison Idea is probably the exact opposite of that. So I could see how there would be a little bit of, I don't know, not sour grapes, but, you want to put people in your place sometimes. And, I have to say that I'm going to score this one for Poison Idea. That was a brilliant move.
But they said, they definitely talked a lot about the straight edge thing too, being like something that they were responding to. They were like, being like completely ideologically opposed to it, their I mean with their legacy. And there's a funny one where they were like, maybe like the next pressing should be called Ray Capo.
Well, that would have worked out too.
That's probably what they were responding to more anyway, was the youth crew like type of straight edge.
Exactly. I mean, it was the right era. But I don't know. I still think, Ray Capo probably wouldn't have got as upset about it. I don't know. The legacy of it, of even Ian's response, adds to it, I think. So, bravo. Yeah. They really, it was a dinger. So, but yeah, like I said, even like we're talking about that record more than we've even talked about War on the Time. Say. It's just it's a thing, it's totally overlooked, but I think it's one of their best records. I love it. And I think it's important to point out that this record 87, and that EP, the Imaka EP, you have members of Deathside in interviews talking about how they used those records as blueprints to start like Burning Spirit style hardcore in Japan. Like
wild.
You have that on your resume, like you could just quit, It's nuts. But you listen to War all the time. All right. I did it again this morning. Took the kids to school and made them suffer through the first bit of it. My son loves, I'm not going to say it. My son loves Poison Idea. He's in 6th grade now. His for like the third record he ever bought was Feel the Darkness. So he's game. He's down. But I listened to it again. All the riffs on this record, it's like the genesis of that style of music. You listen to it, all riffs that sound like that record came from that record. You hear a little bit of every aggressive guitar-based band in the punk world, in like the crossover metal world. Even you see Kurt Cobain espousing, that kind of stuff. It's in everything. You hear a little bit of this record in every single aggressive guitar riff. It just astounds me how no one talks about this record. Go listen to it. It sounds like the H100s, or it sounds like all those Japanese bands like Judgment and Deathside. The melody and the guitar lines. It's crazy how far-reaching this single record is, but no one's talking about it. No one brings it up at all.
It's almost as if like it influenced this like smaller group of people who then became the bigger reference point of that sound. You know what I mean? Like the ones who took this blueprint got bigger using this sound, because Feel the Darkness sounds so different from this one.
Yeah, totally.
That people are like, that's not Poison Idea. Poison Idea sounds like Feel the Darkness, in 1990.
Or go back and listen to Pick Your King. It doesn't sound anything like Feel the Darkness.
Right.
I remember not even getting Feel the Darkness when I first heard it. I was young. I was like, what is this? This is like too ahead of me. Like, let me just put Pick Your King back on for the 30,000th time, Honestly, Feel the Darkness didn't really even hit me as hard as it does now until I was a little older. It's kind of a thought-provoking record. It's not very garden variety.
Right.
It's a very special album, but I can see why War All the Time is a little overshadowed by it. But people, you're right. It definitely influenced people, and they kind of took the ball and ran with it. But you hear there's still some towards the end of the record. There's some melodies that you're going to hear a little bit further down the line on Feel the Darkness. It's not that far afield, but it's just also the playing on it is incredible. It's the first record with Vegetable and Steve Hanford. Yeah. And those two just took they just took that sound and they just soaring into they really transformed the way that the music of that band sounded. It's just a fantastic record. Playing, lyrics are great. It's cool that it's even named after a Bukowski book. I think that they were trying something a little bit different, going with a literary title. And it's just fantastic. It really does upset me how little it gets talked about in like the pantheon of hardcore punk.
Push the button, pull the lever, flip the switch. I think me clever. Turn the peg that makes you move. The earth is flat, but my guitar's in tune. Push the button, pull the lever, flip the switch. I think me clever. Turn the peg that makes you move. The earth is flat, but my guitar's in tune. Live on this fucking place, exterminate movers. I'm a mechanical boy, I'm a mother's boy, I'm a mechanical boy. Come on, exterminate this place, level the human race. That's right, push the button. Tell me what I've done. It's wrong, no it's not. For fun, put the peg. It makes that you move.
Yeah, I think too, part of it is listening to it, it's knowing what hardcore was doing at the same time, or the bands who were considered hardcore before, like, Suicidal Tendencies and DRI going like full thrash on those during this exact same time period. And most of the other classic hardcore bands were done by this point. And besides, like, the DC scene was doing Rev Summer around this point because the Embrace record came out this year.
Yep.
And, like, New York's doing New York stuff. Agnostic Front put out a record, but even that Agnostic Front record is very crossover for them.
It's very crossover. I love that late 80s AF stuff. I have to admit, I like all their, what people would say they're like bad records. I like all those records. I don't care. I think they're awesome. I even liked the 2015 Agnostic Front record that came out. I mean, just in passing. Dark Blue played with AF, and they were like possibly the coolest dudes on earth. Vinny Stigma was legit. He's not fooling around. That guy is a legend. Yeah. He's so cool. Oh, yeah. But in relation to what was coming out, were all the times a little metallic. Because, Vegetable apparently was like a virtuoso at guitar. So he was trying to add some flair to it. And Steve Hanford is, maybe my favorite punk drummer ever. He's unreal. So it lends itself to a little bit better musicianship, but it still wasn't full crossover. It wasn't just punk. It wasn't just hardcore. It was its own thing. And really, it was so much better than what was happening at that time in hardcore punk. Oh my God, like head and shoulders. It's like that record, Daylight, and then, I don't know, any of that New York stuff, any of that Youth Crew, like Rev stuff.
I was trying to get like kind of a reference point for like what else was happening that was similar in any way, and the closest I got, everything would be a little bit more thrash, a little bit more crossover. Yeah. But the only records that I got that were close, but even then they're so different in their own way. Like, there's a Gang Green record that came out the year. It's called You Got It. And that one's like doing a little bit of it, a little bit of that thrash thing that this record's doing. But even then, it's not even that close. Like, the only other one I really saw was maybe Neurosis's Pain of Mind, which would have been the same label because they were both on Alchemy Records. Yeah, that's a close. But even then, it's more crust. Yeah,
Yeah.
Or like what would become crust. Yeah, it's a weird territory. It almost stands alone practically in 1987.
It really does.
Yeah. So, which is also surprising to me. Why that should be another reason why it's talked about more. It's like in the wilderness. So that's what we're here for. We're here to, maybe I'll get an email from Jerry A. That would be show my son. Cool. Check this out. Look.
Dylan, what are your exposure, your feelings, opinions on Poison Idea before listening to this record for the show?
So Poison Idea is a band that I've never really had a proper understanding of. This record being kind of out there in the wilderness in their discography, them as a band always struck me as being kind of out there in the wilderness too, because they're not doing crossover when everyone is doing crossover. It's kind of all of these things. Like early on, they are kind of trying to do Black Flag, Germs, and then really the real only touchstone I had was Fill the Darkness as that record and its legacy, and people being like, oh, that's like one of the greatest, like one of those records that people name check for like a certain kind of cred, I guess, and saying like, and it's a great record, and I think it does deserve some of the hype, and I can see how that record in particular is like directly influential to a lot of like the Death Wish Inc. kind of hardcore bands. I could definitely see a huge influence on like The Swarm and Cursed, Blacklisted, absolutely Blacklisted. But that was it. That was kind of like, I can connect those dots to a few bands like 20 years later from that record, but really nothing else about the band was ever explained or talked about, or recognize some of the album covers, but that was it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, us being siblings, we have very similar exposures to things at stages in our lives. And like my first real exposure to Poison Idea was like a neighbor friend who was like, he loved like punk and hardcore, like older stuff, but he also was like super duper into like noise and drone and black metal, like, and all like the most extreme ends of, you know, music that you could get. So in my brain, I always tied Poison Idea into like, oh, it's like the extreme version of punk, like a G.G. Allen type, you know, like.
It has a little bit of that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that's, I think it's just because of the nihilism attached to the imagery and the lyrics. And, you know, it makes it, you know, punk is, you know, it's a dangerous sport in the 80s, you know? So it makes sense that they would have these predilections. So, yeah, I agree with you, though. It definitely has that kind of aesthetic. But, you know, that makes it even cooler. I mean, my first experience with Poison Idea was not ideal, I guess, or not indicative. That same friend, Brett, bought the Pig's Last Stand. It was like a live CD.
Yeah.
And we bought it because the Quincy Punks covered one of the songs that was on it. And we're like, oh, okay, well, let's get this one because that's on there. And we're like, we didn't even know it was, like, looking at it, we're like dumbasses or 14. We didn't even know it was a live record, you know? So it didn't take me long to find Pick Your King after that. And that, I feel, Poison Idea have the distinction of being, I think they have the triple crown. They have the best EP, LP, and live record. Going back to Pig's Last Stand, that thing is a beast. Go listen to that thing. It rules. It's a great live record. Pick Your King, I think, is the best hardcore 7-inch ever recorded. It's better than Minor Threat. It's better than some of those Black Flag early EPs. And there are no slouches in bed. I'm not saying they're bad. Pick Your King, I think, is perfect. It's just a perfect EP. And Feel the Darkness is also a perfect LP. War All the Time, not far behind it. Honestly, it's so, yeah. There's a lot going on with Poison Idea as well, especially in the 90s too, when there was not really much punk happening in the early 90s. They were kind of plodding along, doing their thing, still putting out records every year and a half until they broke up in the early 90s and got back together later. But, you know, they're these like rock-influenced albums. They were just so far ahead of their time. Like you said, yeah, those Death Wish bands that have that kind of like Les Paul, Marshall Stack sound, you know? That's Poison Idea. That was that's We Must Burn, you know? That's, you know, all the records are just really overlooked, but they're so important now. And I don't know.
Do you think part of that has to do with being kind of tucked away up in Portland, like being a Northwestern band, like in the late 80s? It's not really, it didn't blow up until the 90s, you know?
Yeah, it didn't blow up, and it didn't help. It didn't hurt Poison Idea's legacy that Seattle got big and Portland, like that Pacific Northwest got big and everyone was wearing Feel the Darkness shirts or, you know, whatever. Yeah. So, but yeah, that definitely, you know, they literally were in the wilderness. They were in the Pacific Northwest, you know, they were hiding in the woods. Yeah, they toured a lot, but still, if you're not from LA or New York in that era, or one of the other niche scenes that were kind of the darlings of the world, of the punk world, you were going to get left behind a little bit. And I feel like, I mean, look at the Wipers. No one even cared about the Wipers until that box set came out in the early aughts. Like, nobody really listened to the Wipers, you know? But then everyone listened to the Wipers. Every band sounded like the Wipers. You know, from 2004 to 2007, every new band was just like, they kind of sound like the Wipers a little bit. Yeah, have you heard that band? You know, so...
I was going to say, like, it doesn't help that your only other big Northwest punk band is the Wipers, who don't want any publicity at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are like, we don't want to play shows. I want to put out 7 records and never play a show.
Yeah. I mean, respect. That's what I've been doing with Dark Blue for like almost a decade now, but it's not gonna enhance your legacy. But, you know, I guess it did in the end, you know? So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Feel the Darkness being when it is, it kind of, that's what really like puts them on the map for
totally.
the rest of the country. But I've always been fascinated too, though, by those 80s hyper specific scenes that were like no one talks about. So like everybody knows DC and New York and Chicago and LA, like all those punk scenes. Even the Texas scene is even a little bit known. You got Negative Approach up in Detroit and like so. But then there are like the Northwest, like we were saying, and then even like the Southeast is like the punk that came out of the Southeast is like, oh yeah, you got Corrosion of Conformity, and that's it.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of places that get overlooked, like Florida. There's a lot of good bands from the early to mid '80s. Like F, all those Hated Youth. I think they're from Florida. It's yeah, Portland is definitely an overlooked scene. Yeah. There was plenty. It wasn't like there was a shortage of music. I'm reading the Phil Irwin, the Whiskey Rebels book, Job Jumper, right now, and he talks about all those. Rancid Vat started in Portland, so he talks about working for an inventory company where he hired like members of Poison Idea and and he just rattles off all these Portland band names. I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What? I'm like writing these down. I'm like, I gotta go check this, YouTube this later, So, yeah, it's definitely an unheralded scene. Still, even to this day, like I said, I don't know like half the bands he named. I was like, what the fuck? Okay,
yeah,
all right, okay, homework time. So yeah,
bands that had nothing, like they didn't record, or they recorded a tape. Like a real shitty tape. So you might find a rip of it somewhere, but like nobody had vinyl, or some bands never recorded. Like there's just bands that purely existed in a live setting, which is even wilder to think about. Like,
yep. But luckily we have a stack of Poison Idea records to look back on.
Yeah. They were, for a band that took a minute to kind of get recognized, like they have a pretty deep discography at this point, 8 full-length albums and
and none of them are
EPs and singles.
None of them are bad. Like even the newer ones, you listen to them and they're enjoyable. That's hard for bands to do.
Yeah, especially after a reunion.
I think they nailed it with their first record. They may be the Kings of Punk. I don't know. It could be true. I'm gonna say yes. I mean, look at the record that's kind of comparable to Kings of Punk in that era. It was a few years before it, but. And you hear a lot of it in Kings of Punk is Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing by Discharge. Very similar vibe, guitar sound, all that stuff. But look what Discharge ended up being. Like total shit for years. And then they had to get back together and put out some like ordinary ass punk records with the singer of the Verruchers. And there's no charm to any of it. It just sounds like, the Verruchers. But Poison Idea never stopped really for too long. And then when they did, they always came back with something decent,
Yeah.
So I gotta hand it to them in that respect. They didn't give up or change directions too harshly and too terribly, So yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this album. Like, just Poison Idea were just a huge question mark to me. So like listening to it, I was like, all right, let's see what we're gonna get here. Are we gonna get the most like raw, crusty, gutter punk record that you can get? And then it's like, oh shit, like that guitar work and that drumming on this album, they're amazing.
Yeah.
The lyrics are cool too. They're not garden variety punk lyrics. Jerry A's never done that. They're just, I don't know. It's almost a perfect record, in that respect. Perfect playing, great lyrics, great the recording's incredible. That's and that's another thing that whoever engineered and mixed that record did a great job. So,
it was I looked that up too. It was produced by Steve Hanford. So he
that makes sense.
Produced the album. There is an engineer and a mixer on there, but
whatever. I'm sure they did a great job with this one. High five, guys. Good job.
Yeah, I was curious. I was just like, what else did they do? And it's just like, no, just primarily this kind of stuff. So it just sounded really good for like the type of band, the type of scene, the type of music. It's just like, oh, this is slick. It's slick for what it is, the closest you could call this kind of music being slick,
It's got just enough polish.
Yes, it's not over-polished. It's not underproduced or overproduced. It's perfect for the era it came out in, too. You know, it has just a little bit of that kind of like metal reverb on the vocals, and like the drums are really loud in the mix. You know, you could tell that that Steve Hanford mixed and produced this record. But it's great. You know, and the cover's even cool. It doesn't look like a punk record. It looks like it could be something that came out in like 1979. It looks like a pop group record, you know, or something like along those lines. Yeah. So it's really. It could be stifling for people, I guess. It would stymie them. You know, when you looked at it, you might, okay, I'm not going to. This one has like an abstract painting on it. That one has a gun to Tiny Tim's head. I'm going to go with the gun to Tiny Tim's head. You know? So, yeah, it could confuse people. So, but all of it leads to a really close to perfect package that is sorely overlooked. And I just that was really what I wanted to talk about today. So I think we did that. I think we summed it up pretty well. Yeah. So.
Is there you have any like closing thoughts on the record that you want to hit, or you feel like you got it out there?
I feel like, I don't know what else I could say. I'm not getting kickbacks from the band, but go buy the record, you know, go listen to it. Seriously, listen to it right now. If you listen to this podcast, go put it on immediately. And then you'll agree with everything we've said. If you don't like it, you don't like music. I don't know what to tell you. You don't like go. If you learn to be a carpenter.
If you don't like it, do what I did and then proceed to listen to everything else in their discography,
and then go back to it. Yeah,
and like, okay, yeah, I get
it. Yeah, that's
did
what
you
I had to
like
do.
It when you first heard it?
No,
I didn't dislike. When I started it, I was like, it's not hooking me. The latter half of it I enjoyed, and then I was like, well, I'm just going to listen to everything I possibly can by them until I get tired of them, and I didn't really actually get tired of them. I was just like, I don't have anything else to listen to. I don't have time. We're going to record, you know?
See, love it. Good. No.
So I'd say this record made me a fan.
Good. There you go.
So that's a selling point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably a good... Feel the Darkness is probably the one you would give to someone first, just to be like, here you go. Here's where you start.
Dive in.
But yeah. So I wouldn't say like give this one as the first one. But if you gave this one as the first one, you most likely wouldn't be like a turnoff or anything for anybody.
No, I couldn't see how this possibly could turn someone off who was into like starting to get into punk and heard this record. It's pretty astounding sounding. So yeah. I don't know. I'll try it. My son definitely likes Feel the Darkness way more than War All the Time, but he's a poser. Yeah. He's only in year 6, so he's a newbie. He doesn't know shit yet. Don't worry. I'll teach him what's up. That fool loves Feel the Darkness, I'll tell you. He's got a Feel the Darkness shirt. He's got it on vinyl. He listens to it constantly. And he's not like a kid who's like a punk. He just liked the record. I played it for him in the car once, and then he was like humming it the next day. It's incredible how that record hooked him in. But yeah, like I said, he's a poser. So, he doesn't know anything yet.
All right, if you want to be true punks, we got to get you on some earlier stuff.
Yeah, you got to need a face tattoo, Johnny. I'm sorry. You're going to be in 7th grade in a couple of months. We got to do this shit right,
Well, thank you so much for picking this record for us to talk about.
Well, it was my pleasure.
Soon. But, where should we be following you? Bands, accounts, social media, anything like that?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm pretty active on Twitter, John Sharkey, and then 3 Eyes. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I talk a lot about sports. I know that's probably a big turnoff, but it's not just that. I talk a lot of shit on Twitter. I get bored at night and talk shit on Twitter. I don't really use Facebook. I think it's for old people. I'm on Instagram, but I don't really use that much either because I think it's stupid and pointless. And I'm definitely not on fucking TikTok or whatever that. I'm not trying to sound like an old guy, but I'm not on that shit, So yeah, follow me on Twitter.
It's too much work.
It is too much work. I don't have to choreograph a video when I'm playing a show in Brooklyn. One show, I'm not going to set up the trash cans so they fall in order and then some fucking, the doves come out and I'm going to pause there and fuck that shit. No, I'm on Twitter mainly, so come and harass me there. Yeah.
Well, John Sharkey's definitely not on TikTok, so that's your main takeaway.
Not fucking on TikTok. No, I'm cool. I'm still cool. I mean, I'm down with the kids and all. I'm hip, but
You can always catch him at the airport yelling at...
I'll always be at the airport yelling, like every other white-haired Australian guy, yelling at some poor girl behind the counter for having their flight delayed for 15 fucking minutes or something. I don't know. It's always something so stupid. Maybe it's worse now because people are waiting for like 4 days to get on a plane, but I don't know. I'll find out in a couple weeks when I fly home.
Right. You may be like, oh, I get it. I know why he's so mad.
Now I am an angry old white guy from Australia. Listen here, Missy.
You can just pull out that ugly American stereotypes.
Oh my God.
There.
It works sometimes down here. It's when people give me shit, I could pull out the, what the fuck did you say, dude? Like the little bit of the Delco accent comes out, like, oh shit, okay. Maybe they let the Americans bring guns here too. I don't know the rules.
I don't know how constitutions work.
Yeah, oh my God.
Does he have that right everywhere?
I think so. The globalists want it that way, so I don't know. All the stuff I've read on Facebook. No, see, that's why I'm not on Facebook. Fuck. Jesus
that's where
Christ.
misinformation thrives.
Yep, and my weird and all my weird relatives. So stay the fuck away. All right, boys. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna thank you very much. I want to thank you for having me on, and it was a pleasure to talk about this record. One of my favorite records.
Awesome.
So go listen to it and go listen to my shit, and I'll see you in. Well, maybe I'll see you too, but I'll see some of you in Brooklyn on July 7th.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.